Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. The breakdown extra. A bit of a short one today, to be honest with you, and a bit of a last minute thing, hence why I haven't put it up on social media. I spent a day waiting for a call from the hospital, thinking might be going in, so that was fun. But I'm not going in until next Tuesday, so that's the main thing. So we don't have to scramble to sort out the Glen Loovens event and find someone else to host it and all that sort of stuff, which was proper stressing me out, let alone content and all the rest of it, radio shows and such. But we're all good. I've avoided it for another week. Well done, me. So I apologise if it's a bit late. Make sure someone in the comments can let me know that you can hear me loud and clear and stuff. I just set up everything a bit late, so it's just checking. But yeah. We're down in me, let's be honest. But yesterday, after the game, I just really like I had to switch off, and I was really glad I wasn't doing any shows. Like, and that's no nothing to do with you guys. I was proper broken last night. Like, I thought we were much better yesterday, but the final ball, the final decision making still was quite poor. But that you're going to expect that. Like, a lot of these players have the confidence. Like, Keane Ashford, as an example, was flying earlier in the season, and one of the things that stood out about him was his decision making. And then you look at yesterday; it's a very simple decision: slide it into Robertson, 2-0, happy days, and he just. That extra touch he wants and goes the wrong way. And look, he's a young player. He'll learn, and I'm sure it has frustrated him. But unfortunately, what happened a lot this season under Omar Issa, not so much Bullock because it was only 6 games, is the likes of Ashford, Bagan, Colwell, whoever, the younger players, Robertson, one bad game or one mistake, and they were dropped. So they wouldn't start for a couple of games. They come back in. And then they look nervy and like they're second guessing. The example I use is Bagan had looked superb all season, made one mistake, gave a goal away, was dropped for the next game. I'm not sure if he was dropped for the next 2, but then he came in at QPR and ended up getting hooked at half time because he was really nervous and poor and he was getting out physically battled, and he hadn't been out physically battled all season. And I'm not saying like that's all on Omar Issa or anything like that. I'm just saying that you got to be so careful with these young players, like in terms of the minutes they're playing and how you react when they don't make the right decisions. Because decision making is something which comes with maturity. And that's not just in football, that's in everyday life, that's in everything, isn't it? Like, your decision making gets better as you get older and you're more mature. Unfortunately, I just don't see us staying up now. I like, we had to beat Oxford, and unfortunately that's a rip-roaring goal from Brannigan. You know, you can discuss maybe the walk and the wall, be a bit more switched on and get out to them, yeah, maybe, but ultimately that was the result we needed, and all the results went against us, which is like just makes it more painful. And look, all Aaron Ramsey's got to do is build on, like, he had one day with the players, so he might have had an idea of what he wanted to do from a selection point of view, but he's had very little time to work with them, you know, tactically or anything like that. So hopefully that'll be even better again next week because he's had a full week training with them. They've just got to go. Maybe in some ways the pressure's off them now because, like, this, you know, we are all but down. So we have to just go and win football matches. So go and play the matches. Both teams have sacked their managers. So all 3 teams that'll be involved in the Cardiff City games, the next 2 games, will go interim coaching staff and managers. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about it a little bit. I was going to do a player ratings video, but like I said, I've not been well for the last couple of weeks, and I just was rough today. Willock was definitely a surprise, as Andrew says in the chat there. It's massive, like, because that was a real eye opener, because like, to me, Willock has had 1.5 good games, like where he's really looked like what I thought I was going to get with him, and that was yesterday. And I think it was half against Millwall away, maybe. But and that's like, he just hasn't settled, or he hasn't had the continuity. I don't know what it is, but there's definite ability there. But what I did like tactically from Gunter and Ramsey, particularly like yesterday, is first 20 minutes, Willock was very narrow, and it was causing us a bit of an issue on that side. And you could see them both telling Willock, like, get on the flipping touchline. And him and Ashford literally stood on the touchline. And that enabled us to play some nice football. And we played some really nice, like, 1 and 2 touch stuff. Robertson looks a lot better when we're moving the ball quicker. I thought Manswerk was excellent. I thought Rinamoto showed why he's wasted at right back, just his energy and his athleticism. Thought both of them were a really good combination. Manswerk, I think it's unlikely we'll be able to get him on loan next year. Certainly if we're in League One, which looks like the case. But I would love to see him here again next year. I think he's just real player. Physical, aggressive, good on the ball. His final ball sometimes. But I think he's also not fully match fit. Like, he seems to get to about an hour and then he gets a cramp and he's struggling a little bit. But I just feel maybe it's partially because I'm not well, but like, I feel so down, like, compared to pretty much all season. I've always felt that we'd have enough to stay up. I always felt there would be 3 worse teams, but as it's come into the run-in, we just haven't been able to get those wins. We've only been able to get draws and obviously losses, and other teams around us have been able to pick up wins, and that's the big difference. And I look at the way we played on Monday, and I saw a few people saying, "Oh, it was no different." Like, if you don't see a difference, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's a massive difference in how just the speed of what we moved the ball yesterday, but also the movement off the ball is something that I've said all season we lack. Like, we're so static. And yesterday there was runners, there was people moving off the ball, like I said, some 1 and 2 touch passing. And what makes it, like, what really infuriates me, and I did post on Twitter yesterday, like, what has made me feel, I think, so broken and angry now, is that I look at this team and I just cannot fathom where we are. But I just think, Jesus, right, we nearly brought a new manager in pre-Christmas because the run into Christmas was so bad. Then the run, like, over Christmas was terrible. We nearly brought someone in after the Oxford game. There was talk in the last international break. There's been so many chances where we could have changed the manager. And even if we had done it 2 or 3 games earlier and gone with Ramsey and Gunter and co, I think we stay up. And look, I'm basing that on a bit of belief, but I look at what I saw different in one day with those players, and then I just think, God, imagine what he could have done if he'd had, 8 weeks. Frustrating, because it's all down to the owner. It's just the lack of leadership, the lack of structure at the football club is embarrassing. Gone down with a whimper, Graham, is not even an exaggeration. And if you go all the way back to Christmas, mate, what did I say? If we're going to go down, let's make sure that we go down fighting and grasping and screaming and shouting, not just with a whimper. And a couple of weeks ago, it felt like we were running towards relegation. I won't be shocked if we end up winning the next 2 games, but even then, you are like grasping at straws. I think Hull need a point to be safe, and Derby need a win, I think, if I'm right in saying. Someone will probably correct me if I'm wrong. But, with the form that Derby have been in, you would expect them to get 3 points from the last 2. And, Hull have got to get a point. So it's not a lot, is it? It's not a lot to hope on. And that's also including, you need Luton to slip up as well, probably there. it's not a lot of hope, is it? And look, I don't like to be all like, everything's shit. I try and be fair and I try and look at everything realistically. And I've, clung to that hope for a long time. But, you look at the form table of the last 6, we haven't won a game in 6, whereas Plymouth, who are, the down, have, or all but down, have won 3 of the last 6. Luton above us have won 3 of the last 6. Derby in front of us have won 2 of the last 6. Hull, 2 of the last 6. Oxford, 2 of the last 6. The only other team who hasn't won in 6 games all the way up in 18th in Preston. I know mathematically we are not down. I know that. But, it's difficult to be not frustrated, shall we say. So look at some of these comments. Mark Brown, welcome, mate. New manager would have kept us up all day long. Some big Omar Risa fans on here. Usual warned. I think there's a difference between being a fan and just backing a manager who's there. But like one thing, I could only speak for myself. And the one thing is I was very critical of Omar Risa when it was needed and when he did decent stuff. I appreciate that. But like, I try and be as balanced as possible. Can't speak for anyone else. It's going to be brutal, mate. Someone asked a question. Where's it gone? I forget where it was. Camille there said, do you think many players will leave if we go down? I am very concerned by it, mate. Because I do think, and this is only an opinion, it's not based on any sort of information or anything like that. I just have a feeling that if Vincent Tan is still in charge, come the start of the season next year and we've gone down, he seems to have lost interest. And I just wonder whether he's going to look at that squad, because people will, regardless of what people think of Ruben or other players and whether they're good enough, they're consistent or whatever, there will be takers. What was I was saying last summer, we should have put a bid in for Jordan James because Birmingham had gone down and they were going to have to sell some of their assets to fund their window. It'd be no different for Cardiff. So Southampton have just gone back into the Championship. Will they come, fancy coming back for Ruben? Is there other clubs who might fancy Robertson or Salic is one? I think he seems to be, the words he says, he seems to love it down here and he seems to be committed. But as we've seen so many times over the years at Cardiff, for us older folk, we remember when, I remember when Cav was sold. He didn't want to go, but he was sold because we needed the money. Sometimes players will be told, we need you to go for X, Y, and Z. My worry is that, well, 2 worries, I guess. It's obviously 3, 4. It's never ending. Like, I obviously worried about what players we can hold on to, particularly some of the duels. Like Dylan Lawler is one where I'm like, would a Premier League take a risk? Would a Premier League team take a risk on him now? 18, 19, going down into League One. I think he's only got a year, which we've just extended on his contract. Would they take a risk on him rather than waiting and then has a good season or has we get promoted maybe and then he costs more? That's a bit of a worry, I think. Same with a few of the other players. Like, it'll be what it is. Obviously, if Vincent Tan decides he wants to sell Cardiff City, that'll be different. But I worry. I think while he's there, you can't predict what he's going to do because he's so unpredictable. You are right there, Jason. The Jacks did their best to actually keep us up, which is quite mental. Fact Steve says there'll be life after this season. I started following City in the old Division 3 and then on to Division 4. Those years were great. Be the same again. Sadly, we're not at this level any longer. I think, like, ultimately, mate, at the end of the day, whatever league we're in, and like, I'm not going to we're still going to be City fans. We're still going to go. We're still going to support the team, and it is what it is, isn't it? But I'm just gutted because I don't think we should be in the bottom three, but the mismanagement of the football club means that we are. And the table don't lie, mate. Ultimately, we haven't been good enough this year. And a fair play, like if Aaron Ramsey gets 2 wins and does something magic, then fair play to him. That'll be one for the ages, and it'll be folklore because we are all but down. And if he can suddenly work something out. I mean, the worst result possible, I suppose, for us would be what? Derby and Hull draw, I suppose. I mean, what do we want from Hull versus Derby? Do you want a Derby win and then Derby is safe? Do you go if you have a draw, Hull is safe? It's like, wow, there's no good fucking things. Who have Derby got last day of the season? Stoke. Well, Stoke have wound it in for weeks. Yeah, I think it's difficult, isn't it? I think for me, like I think I've been relatively consistent. Like I said, we should have. I've always felt like for where we were, the players we had, and the state that I always felt like Slaven Bilic was a good choice in December because he's got championship experience. His teams are defensively solid. He likes to play with young players, and he also, plays a fairly decent style of football. I just felt like that was an intelligent appointment. And I understand some people's reservations, but, compared to what we have seen this year, it's been very poor. It's just depressing all round, isn't it? Let's be honest. So Jamie says Ramsey 3 games only. I don't believe that, mate, for a second. There's a few reasons why I don't, but probably the biggest reason is Vincent Tan and the lack of any sort of semblance of leadership or football knowledge there. And it's not to say I don't think that he could do a good job. Like, ultimately, I think in the long term, Aaron Ramsey will be a good football manager. It's impossible to judge him now. He's had 1 game. But I don't know. It's a difficult one. League One, innit? League One is a hard league to get out of. Yeah, I agree with that, Mark. Should have gone after the Leeds game. Should have gone after Oxford on Boxing Day. That was the one for me where I felt they should have. And do you know what infuriates me about that? And I'm going to try not to go off on a rant because I have calmed down a little bit since yesterday. But after that Oxford game, I'm fairly sure the board had made a decision that they were going to move on from him. And it was around the same time that Ryan Lowe and I think Gary Rowett had said publicly on Sky they'd like the job. And, we had been absolute shockingly bad all the way through December. Over Christmas, we just dropped so many points. And then the Oxford game was like the final nail. And then a group of the players went to a member of the board and said, no, keep him. We'll stay up. We'll do the job. And it's like, I respect the thought process of it and the loyalty, for lack of a better term. But like, what other industry do the employees get a say on who's their manager or supervisor? Like, it's a very strange situation. And I think if they, like I said, I admire it in one hand, that it's like that loyalty and that belief, but the board, and maybe like if you've got football people in charge, they say, no, he's not experienced enough, or he hasn't got the skill set, or whatever they would have said, but they went with it. So I guess it is what it is, isn't it? I think I might join Rob on the Carlin soon. Yeah. Yeah, Gavin, that's a great point. I'm gutted because I think, apart from the away trips, like having 3 Welsh teams in the Championship would have been phenomenal, and it would have been some good. But then on the other hand, as Kevin says, there will be some good away days in League One. Just frustrating, isn't it? Just frustrating. Yeah, so like that's I just looking at those fixtures there. Like Dan says, I'd say Derby win as Hull have got to play Portsmouth last game at Fratton Park. Yeah, I think that's probably the best scenario. Mark says, I'd love Aaron Ramsey next year. Fans and young players would bring the passion back. Please stay, Aaron. What's to lose? At the moment, I'm kind of leaning towards that. But I do think you've got to put someone with him. I apologize, Mark. Depressing, isn't I? I think, like, I do think that Aaron Ramsey can be a catalyst for change at Cardiff City. And that is something which I kind of hinted at the other day. I do think whether we go up or we go down this summer, and Aaron Ramsey, he could be the catalyst to oversee and to kick off some change at Cardiff and maybe get some like structure in there, some good coaches, some experienced coaches in with those young coaches. And I think then you could mix it up with like some real evolution at the football club, because like the facilities are there. You've got the academy, the training ground coming, the facilities and the infrastructures in the town. You've got the stadium. You've got everything in place. I'd even go as far to say you've got a lot of young players who are ready for the first team. Like you've got a lot of things in place if you get the managerial situation right, whilst also I don't think it's as simple as just getting the right manager. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's as simple as saying like Dan said there, Des Buckingham or Nathan Jones or Michael Flynn or Aaron Ramsey, whoever. I don't think it's as simple as saying that. I think it has to be an evolution of the whole structure of the football club. There has to be football people in there now making football decisions. Like, we've paid for it. That mismanagement off the field from the people away, like at the top of the club, that's kind of like been flirting with relegation for year after year after year. And I think that it's time they do make that change this summer, whether we stay, whether we go down or we have a miracle. And look, right, as frustrated as I am, and I am frustrated, I'm normally a bit more upbeat than this. Like, I'm frustrated and I feel a bit broken. Like, I do think, imagine like if Ramsey can pull off 2 wins and results do go for us for a change. It hasn't been very much this year where we've had luck. Maybe these last 2 games we'll have a bit of luck. Derby will beat Hull and then Portsmouth will beat Hull. We'll win our 2 games and we stay up, and it will be the party of legends. Like, it will be the stuff of legend. Aaron Ramsey will be a hero forever, even more so than he is in Welsh football. And we will just have like this mad thing of like, I was speaking to, like, I did a show with Rhodri on a Sunday, and he's a United fan. He used to go home and away back when he was younger and stuff. And like, even he was on about that Leon game the other day. Like, just it's so mental how football makes you feel like the lowest you can feel, and then 10 minutes later, it's completely the opposite end of the coin. And this is what it could be. Like, I do feel a bit broken and I do feel a bit defeated at the moment and down about it all. But in equally, bit of luck, think we could do it. My cat's heckling me. Chips. And like, maybe that's the way to look at it, isn't it? Win 2 games of football. Derby are on good form. They beat Hull. Portsmouth are excellent at home. They beat Hull as well. And then suddenly we're in the Championship next year. But we still need that evolution. We have to have that evolution off the field, because Otherwise, we're just going to keep making the same errors. And the leadership at the football club, like, I got to be honest, like, if I was Vincent Tan, there's a couple of those board members who I'd be shifting on. And I'd be evolving it from the board down to the football team. Like, and I would be making big differences to the structure, because he's just pumping money in and nothing's changing, isn't it? But like, yeah, you're giving me hope, Jeff. Just a little bit of hope. Yeah, I agree with you, Mark, there. If we let Ramsey go, he'll be unforgiving for me. He made his debut for us at 15. He's got Cardiff running through his veins. Yeah, I know he was absolutely devastated yesterday. But I think it was like those small things yesterday. Like, I really did see a difference in how we played. It was just those small little things. And I think that is something that you can build on over the next week in training. So it's exciting, though. It is exciting in a strange sort of way. Sam says, how ironic is it that we're supposed to be celebrating 125 years of Cardiff and it's the year we go down? But you know what, right, mate? Like, the actual football aside, do you think the club have done a good job of celebrating 125 years? Because I've got to be honest, I think it's been quite underwhelming. That's only my opinion, and there may be others who disagree. I just think there's so much more that they can do. And maybe they felt it wasn't the right time, but to me, it should have been one whole year of celebration. They should have been, I said it at the start of the season, should have been putting out a video a week, just like a 10-minute, 15-minute video focusing on a player or a moment. You know, there's so many different things, a team, whatever it may be, each week of the season, little mini documentary just focusing on that moment, that player, whatever, telling the story of it. Like, it's not difficult to do that. But there's just, I don't know whether we're behind. Well, I do know where we're behind the times in everything we do. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Dave. I think it's an excellent appointment. Add in Ryland Morgan. And I'm very excited by some of the coaching appointments they've made. I think they're excellent. Really exciting. Like, Chris Gunter, for me, is the one that really stands out. But I rate Ryland Morgan highly. So it remains to be seen, doesn't it? Like, how we kick on from that and stuff. But I think they've made really fascinating appointments, because I guess the easy thing would have been for, just to change the manager, but because the coaches are already in place, there's only 3 games left. And I thought it was refreshing to see a big sweeping change. And no, everyone's got to go. These are the coaches that Aaron Ramsey wants. These are the ones he gets. And also, look, if that was the coaching staff going forward, I'd be pretty bloody excited by that. If that was like him with that coaching staff, I do still think that he could do with maybe one person with him who's got more experience and has been there and done it as a coach or a manager. It's just someone he can bounce ideas off. Someone who could be there when times are tough. Just add someone like that. It didn't even have to be as a coach or as a consultant. Just someone who's there. And don't get me wrong, right? I'm sure Aaron can pick up a phone to Craig Bellamy and do the same sort of things. But you need someone there who's there day to day. So it's one of them, innit? Jeff said, is Darren Pearce involved back with the 21s? I believe his discussions are ongoing, mate, with that. I think, though, they wanted to make a slight correction from the other night. Tom Ramasolt is he's back with the 21s, certainly for the time being. everyone was sort of saying on whenever I did the show Sunday that he had left the football club, but I believe is with the 21s as of now, and I'm not sure if it's a long-term thing or just till the end of the season. And this is the other thing as well. Dan says, hey, next year if we do go down, we will be everybody's cup final. We have there's always a bit of a target on the back for the Welsh teams, I think, anyway. There's like that bit of this Jonathan, I agree with you, by the way, on that, mate. 100%. I think it'll be League One. It'll be hard. And we've seen teams do it before, where they drop down and they drop down again, and that's my worry because of how the clubs run off the field. So I really would like to see, no matter what happens in these next 2 games, and if we pull off a miracle, I still want to see it. It's time to address the issues and fix it off the field, because we can't go around in circles all the time. And I think that Aaron Ramsey could very well be the catalyst for that. Aaron Ramsey, you won't find a manager who cares more about Cardiff City than him. It is tricky because I think he wants to, play for Wales. But then I was watching him yesterday, and the guy is so proud to be the Cardiff City manager that I just wonder if, in the summer they said, do you want a job? I don't know whether he turns it down. I don't know whether he does or he doesn't. I have no information on that. I'm just saying, I was watching him and the passion and the pride in him. You just never know when these opportunities will come. And he has struggled for fitness this year, and maybe he does just say, right, that's it, and takes that Cardiff job. But I don't disagree with you, mate, about Nathan Jones. I think he's done a very good job with Charlton, considering all things considered. But I kind of agree with Mark, and I just think it would be a mistake to let Ramsey go. Maybe, but then equally, I was going to say, maybe you could have someone like Nathan Jones and Aaron be on the coaching staff. So yeah, I say this all the time. Press conferences and post-match interviews, I never paid that much attention to them. But you might wrong. Yeah, and like I said, he said before he wants that. I think he wants one more tournament with Wales, or the opportunity to do it. And maybe he's not ready. No one can speak for him. No one can get inside his head. Things change day to day sometimes, and maybe the pride of being the Cardiff manager is enough allure to him. But then maybe equally, he's a proud Welshman and he thinks he can still do it at that level as a player. That's a window that's closing all the time, isn't it? Yeah, I hope whoever the manager is, we can keep Chris Gunter next year as coach. I think he's a phenomenal coach, and I think I'd be really gutted if he leaves in the summer. But I think he's, as far as I know, he's still got those Wales connections with the under 18. So I don't quite know how it works, but it'd be interesting. Yeah, there's a couple of good managers around, but they've also got either big contracts where they are, or they're on gardening leave where they've been sacked and they've got big contracts, and we won't put the money in, unfortunately. It's one of them, isn't it? Let's have a look at something in a minute. Do you believe that Cardiff City can beat West Brom on Saturday? Home game. Hopefully it'll be the same atmosphere as Saturday. Do you think that we can beat West Brom? Don't judge it on the season so far. Judge it on what you saw yesterday. Do you think in a week Aaron Ramsey and Chris Gunter and co. can build on yesterday's performance and beat a West Brom team which have lost 5 of their last 6 games. They have completely capitulated. If the answer is yes, and Derby can just make sure they get that win over Hull, which gets Derby safe, we're in with a shout. We're in with a shout. It's going to be squeaky, squeaky, squeaky bum time, but we're in with a shout. And then you look to Norwich, and we travel to Norwich. They've lost 3 on the bounce. You know, maybe I need a bit more belief and a bit more hope. Maybe that's what I need to be feeling. There, see, I'm like glad I've done a show tonight. I've been feeling like utter crap. Been panicking. I'm going to go to hospital, and just needed you lot to cheer me up. There you go. How about that? Go on, the boys and girls. Jeff says, strike while the iron's hot and get Rambo. Dan says, really rate Gunter as a coach. Sam says, David Wagner. This is a shout. Des Buckingham's a shout, mate. I think he's a real good coach. I thought he was quite unlucky to get sacked by Oxford, but such is the way football is, isn't it? But I do like Des Buckingham. It'll be interesting, won't it, though, because do you get bounce with West Brom because they've got nothing to play for? I don't think they can still make the playoffs, can they? Well, they got 60. Very unlikely to make the playoffs. Looks like mathematically they might still be able to, but they would be depending on Coventry losing all the rest of their games. So unlikely, but you might get a bit of a bounce and a bit of a, like we had a bit of a bounce. Yeah, Jonathan, that's exactly how I felt at the start, mate. It's just like yesterday broke me, mate. Honestly, I really thought we was going to win yesterday, and just Lee says no, but just because of our defense. See, I thought we defended much better yesterday. I don't think you can blame the defenders for the goal. But Fish was good. Chambers looks like he struggles with pace, doesn't he? But on the ball, he's all right. And defense, like headers and stuff like defending positionally. Thought they made quite a good combination, actually. I wish Perry would stop. He spends so much time trying to wind his opposite number up. He sometimes switches off, like defensively. I cannot believe that wasn't a red card yesterday, by the way. Jesus Christ. Yes, Mark. That's the hammer. That's the feeling. 100. The big 125 celebration is coming up on the final day of the season. Oof. Ramsey versus Wilshere, last game of the season. I don't know. You know you're getting old, don't you, when you've seen all these players through their careers. I said that about Ryan Giggs. Like, I remember him debuting, and I remember all the way through his career. I remember him retiring, and then it's even worse now. Like, you've seen others, isn't it? And it's just like, Jesus, Ramsey, the rest of it, they're all of them. Gav, so everyone's blaming Risa, but what about those first 6 of the games of the season? No points, no goals, and the bullet that's caught us up. Yeah, mate. Do you know what has cost us? Is the amount of games that we've been ahead in and not managed those games. Like yesterday is tough because we did manage the game, and outside of that free kick, Oxford didn't really create anything of note. Certainly not like real clear-cut chances. Whereas previously, we, teams do open us up, or have opened us up. Yesterday they didn't. They just score like a ridiculous. It's just such a good strike, and you can't really blame the keeper. It's moving. It's the rest of it. Do I think the wall could have been a bit more like alert to the move? Yeah, but I wouldn't blame them because it was such a beautiful shot. And we missed chances. Obviously, you had the Ashford one where you could have just played in Robertson. O'Dowd should have got on the end. The one at the back post. There was another one I thought we should have scored as well. I can't remember what it was now. But it's those little small margins. Set pieces, man. Jesus, all season, isn't it? All season. Yeah, like a couple of points from those first 6 games, and it's a different season, in it. But then equally, like Omar Reese has had a long time. But I said it when he took over, and I'll say it again. Omar Reese was set up to be the scapegoat and set up to fail. He was never given the tools to do the job. Skeleton crew of coaches, inexperienced coaches. Graham there, nail on the head. 25 points from winning positions. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's a crazy stat, that is. And you know what that shows to me is it shows that we are good enough in terms of scoring goals, creating chances. We just haven't been able to see games out. Is that a bit of experience in the middle where we've missed like the likes of Ramsey and Rawls to see out games? Or is it the constant changing of the partnerships at the back so they can't get that routine? It's difficult to put your finger on any one thing. Any news on Isaac Davis? As far as I know, mate, Isaac Davis is out for the season, I think, for a hamstring injury. I'm not 100% sure. Any news on Isaac Davis? No, okay. I don't know what you're on about. Remind me. Yeah, you said Mark says, "Sorry, you've said it since Bullock got sacked consistently." I don't know what you're referring to. Probably something I just said, but just remind me so I know. What else we got? Yeah, we haven't been able to. Set pieces have been awful. Yeah, that Isaac Davis miss versus Stoke. Oh, painful. Just the bounce on it. Oh, yuck. Winners never quit. Quitters never win. We're winning 2 games. We have to. Yeah, I'm more confident that we can do it now than I was a week ago. I'll tell you that bit, which is mad considering how broken I feel. Nothing, mate, that I've heard. Or nothing positive. Brian says, huge improvements in attitude yesterday will serve us well against West Brom. When we win this game, we'll all be set up for the decider versus Norwich. Yeah, we just need Derby to beat Hull. Just need Derby. Right, okay. Yeah, about him being set up to be a scapegoat. Yeah, I said it from the day he was appointed, mate. It's and I still feel that way. As much as I got frustrated with him and the rest of it, very, very, very disappointed with a lot of the decisions that Omar made. But he's been set up to fail. Absolutely. But it's because if people are blaming Omar Risa, they're not blaming Vincent Tan, that's exactly all of your frustration and anger should be directed towards Vincent Tan because he's the one who didn't change the manager in December when he sacked Bullock, after Christmas, March, after the Leeds game, the most recent international break 3 weeks ago, the Luton game. Like, there's been so many opportunities to change the manager. And you haven't. So for me, and what makes it even worse is now people will blame Mehmet Dalman and the board and all these people. I get it. Like, there's plenty to criticize them for. But they've all been on the same page since that Luton game that the manager needed to change. And it was Vincent Tan who didn't do it. All of the board said the same thing. Need an experienced manager in to see the season out to make sure we don't go down. And he didn't change it until fucking Saturday, whenever it was. Disgraceful. Right. You set me off again. Yeah, the red card from Callum Robinson against Coventry. That is one of the few games where we were very, very good. Yeah. this season's going to be one of them, isn't it? I don't think we need Luton to slip up because if excuse me, because if Hull lose to Derby and then lose to Portsmouth, they'll be on 48, and if we win against West Brom, we'll be on 46, and if we beat Norwich, we'll be on 49. So we would be above Hull, and yeah, I'm not sure. You might be right. I don't know. My maths is it's late. Don't feel well. Don't give me maths. Luton kick off at 12:30. I give exactly Sadie and Sol's journey, like red card Saturday, and that changes the whole outlook of that second half because we would have just been all over them constantly. It's like all those little moments, the Isaac Davis one, so many. Like, I'll take you back to a mad one, right? First 20 minutes against Burnley and at the start of the season, we were sensational. And I only remember because I was on a Burnley podcast that night, and they were like, they couldn't believe how good Cardiff were for 20 minutes at Burnley. And then we passed the ball back to the keeper, and it goes over his foot, and they score. They had another shot on goal, and they were 1-0 up. And then we give the ball away again then on the edge of the box, and they score. And suddenly they've had one shot, and they're 2-0 up in a game that we were doing very well in. It's those moments, those sliding doors moments. Gavin says we'll be above Luton on goals scored. Yeah, they are, Jonathan. We were excellent against Burnley and lost 5-0. But with those 5 goals, you go back and watch the highlights, we just gave them 5 goals. But actually, we're probably the better team in that game. It's crazy. Oh, the lineups. Oh, my God. But then I look at the last couple of games, right, with Fish and Chambers as a duo, yeah. How long did it take to put Fish in the side? He's by far been our best out-and-out defender. He's probably made a couple of mistakes, but just from a pure defensive, put his body on the line, heading balls away, organisation, he's been our best defender. He didn't play for half season, and he hasn't had the same bloody centre-back pairing at all. I think I liked him with Bagan, but I think him and Chambers look like they complement each other quite well. You know, if they play the majority of the games this year with the same back two centre backs, does that make a difference? I think it probably does. Someone asked if there's any news on players leaving. The only thing I've kind of heard, you know, on the grapevine, as it were, is that Gutas has signed a pre-contract somewhere. I have no idea if there's anything to that. So, like, I wouldn't take it as gospel, but it would probably explain why he was dropped from the side and hasn't got back in at all, no matter how bad we could. And Fish is another one. See, 23 has stood out. Yeah. Do you know, though, right? If he goes to the last game of the season, mate, Jonathan don't even joke about it. Maybe if certain players leave, you never know. The mad thing is, right, I'm not sure I'll be able. I don't think my blood pressure can cope with it. Last day of the season, and we'll be like 1-0 up, and we know we can't keep a 1-0 lead, and Hull will be losing to Portsmouth, and we'll just be like, blood pressure, heart attack. Yeah, great. Paul says, who is your player of the season? Do you know what, right? Some people might not agree with this at all. Don't think there is one. No, I think, right, this is just my view. For their attitude, application, work rate, and general demeanor towards the fans in the ground when they're leaving the ground, everything like that, my player of the season would probably be Callum O'Dowda. However, I don't necessarily think he's been our best player, but I think the way he's conducted himself especially on the back of some of the others, by the way. Some of them need to be cleared out big time. I think he's been absolutely exemplary, and he is a good example to the young ones on how to behave, how to treat the fans, how to wear the blue shirt with pride. Rinamoto absolutely gets most improved, and I think Rinamoto was up there for Player of the Year. I thought he faded a little bit in between sort of Christmas and up to a couple of games ago. I think he's been pretty good again now. He's being so consistent. I mean, best player for the second half of the season, I think Will Fish is in with a shout. But you can't give him Player of the Year because he hasn't played for half a season. You know, we need another striker. We need a pacey winger. We need a goalkeeper. And I think we need a replacement for Manswerk. We need someone like that who can carry the ball and win the ball physically. I would love... So, Jonathan says this. He says, we need a clear out of all the bad attitudes and the deadwood. We can't have players sulking and not performing again in League One. We need a fresh start. This is 100%. I agree with this. I would absolutely 100% get rid of quite a few players. I'm not going to go through it now because ultimately I want everyone together for 2 games. So I don't think it's the right time to start saying I would get rid of these people and this person because they've got a bad attitude and this person. But they will be doing that in the next week or 2. I say that the next episode of the rebuild series, which I've done, is about evolving the squad, where we go through the squad. So I might have to save that one. Jonathan says, Dan says, could be controversial, but I'd give it to Chambers, player of the season. Wasn't great at the start, but been excellent in midfield and pretty good centre back the last couple of games. Yeah, don't think it's that bad. Yeah, I don't think that's the worst shout, mate. Jeff says, Ryan Wintelbach, not for me, mate. Not for me. To be honest with you, regardless of where we are next year, him and his mate, I'd probably move on, to be honest. But that's just my opinion. I just think we need a bit of a rebuild. Sadie and Soul Journey says, complete rebuild. Yep, I agree. Focus on the young players, bit of experience. Yeah, Sam says, we're missing a Gunnison from midfield ever since he left us. I agree with that. I think Manswerk is the closest we've had to him. And I would really like to see Manswerk here next year. But like Martin has just said, Joel Colwell could do that if he's got to be given an opportunity next year. I don't think so, Paul, no. But I don't know for sure. The 21s were winning 1-0 when I looked. Marks has Ryan Wintle, no way, Jose. Sam says, I think the youngsters will thrive in League One and get better over the season. That I agree with. He says, look how well Ebo Adams has done. Yeah, he scored Derby's winning now. Jonathan Davis says, I want to go all out. I want to go all out. Shock move. Joel Bagan for me has stepped up when needed and been pretty reliable. When most wanted him gone, he's the kind of player you can build around. 100%, mate. If we go down into League One, I would play him as centre-back with Will Fish. They would be my centre-back pair in first choice. Louis Giles, left-back. Bagan and Fish with Dylan Lawler coming in now and again. Get a new right-back in. There we go. They lost 2-1 to QPR. There you go. 21s. Right, guys. I was going to do 20-minute live. And I started off and I was very miserable. No Darland. I think Fish, I really like Darland. And I think the criticism of him has been quite unfair because I think you've got to give him time to adjust to the physicality of the EFL. So, but I just think, but I like Bagan at centre back. I also want to see Giles get his opportunities. I'm ready to see Joel Colwell, and a couple of others be in the first team squad. Because you know one thing, right? They'll fight for the badge. They'll fight and they'll apply themselves and they'll do what they're told and they'll play where they're told and they'll play how they're told. They won't get managers sacked by sulking and the rest of it. So yes, you need some experience. You know, Darling Fish early to mid 20s. You get in someone nice and experienced to be a leader in the group. But yeah, of course, like Vincent Tan is the issue ultimately. Vincent Tan is the issue. Jonathan says, "There you got Lawler, Giles, Spears. Yeah, I think Spears will be come in and be the backup right back next year." And that's the other shame of it is this year, because of the situation we're in, we don't get to see the Spears and then Nayakawa and some of the others who would have got some game time in these last couple of games. You know, it's one of them, innit? Stam says, heard Halworth might be going to West Brom. Honestly, mate, and I know this is controversial. I know Reece gets really angry when I say this to him. I would sell both for keepers. I don't think either one of them is good enough to be number one. I think one of the mistakes that Cardiff made this year was giving new contracts to Callum Robinson and Alnwick. I understand giving it to Callum O'Dowda. I think he earned it to a certain degree with his, like I said just now, his attitude, his application, the rest of it. What I do think over the next couple of years, Callum will only be O'Dowda will only be a squad player. I think he's a good senior player to have in the group in terms of leading by example and being there to advise the players and stuff like that. So I understand giving him a contract. Didn't understand the timing of it. Didn't understand giving one to Callum Robinson and Alnwick. I suppose from a sale point of view, I suppose you can sell Callum Robinson in the summer, but he's streaky, isn't he? Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think attitude doesn't replace quality. I think the reason why O'Dowda sticks out, it's because the attitude of so many of them have been poor. Do you see what I mean? Like, so him being like he is mad. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I was wrong, but if I didn't say so at the time, I can't remember what I said, Paul. But Paul just said I asked you at the start of keeper about the keepers. I can't remember what I said, mate. But if I said they were good enough, they were. I was wrong. I think both are not good enough to be number ones. Both of them are all right, number twos. But I'd rather see a youngster. I'd rather see Matt Turner get an opportunity at number two and get a genuine, really good number one. But there we go. Sam says, I'd let Rawls go. He's been a great servant to the club, but over time, he's not playing the same levels he used to be. I would offer him a pay-as-you-play deal and a coaching role. Now, he might be one of Ramsey's coaches, but I would offer him a pay-as-you-play deal because I think he's a handy player to have, but nothing more than that for me. I think we have to move on. Need a few art. Graham says we need a few art men. League One may suit Rawls. Not sure, mate. Yeah, maybe. He loves the club. Loves the club. Right, guys. As always, it's a pleasure. I can't remember what's happening. What day are we? Got a bank holiday. Tuesday, Wednesday. Right, Wednesday, tomorrow night. Got a really interesting show on for the radio show tomorrow. Got a couple of guests. I'm working on two really special ex-Cardiff City players. I'm really, really hoping that they both come off, because if they do, it'll be amazing, because it'll be one that like everyone really like you know, everyone knows him, see him on TV all the time. But then there's another one who I'm trying to get on, who's like a bit more old school in the stand sort of era. I'm hoping to get those two on, and we've also got Jack Sharp on in the second hour, who's the head of the FAW's head of domestic football. So if you like grassroots football, or if you've got kids or teenagers, or you play grassroots football yourself, that is going to be a fascinating one, where we're going to ask him about, you know, the facilities and all these different questions. So if you've got questions that you want to ask him, he'll be in the house 8 o'clock tomorrow. First hour will be the Cardiff guests and all that good stuff. 7 till 9 tomorrow night. I feel better than I did 1 hour and 1 minute ago, and I think that's largely down to you guys. So I appreciate that massively. Let's celebrate. Cardiff have been here 125 years, and I've stayed out of hospital for another week. There we go. In a bit. See you tomorrow. Thank you.